Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee. Did I say
Yes.
right? Okay. Thank you for coming to Savvy Broadcasting and Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here this wonderful Saturday for me. I believe Sunday for you. What day is it there? I know we have a bit of a time difference.
Yeah, it's Saturday. It's Saturday, 11:45 p.m. right now in India.
Okay, we're a little bit apart, but I'm so grateful that you were hung in there and were able to come chat with me today on a very important topic, and that is reintegrating our children back into the school. A lot of children have been learning off of Zoom. It's been really tough for parents alike. And we're going to talk about what parents need to know and what educators can do as well to make the integration not as painful and painless as possible. But before we go there, I want you to share a little bit about your backstory with our audience. Could you do that?
Yeah, sure. So this is Dr. Shauli Mukherjee. I would best define myself as a passionate academician, a global thought leader, and an internationally acclaimed inspirational speaker. So it has been more than 23 years that I have been associated with the education sector, being the principal as well as the founder principal of some of the reputed international schools in West Bengal, India, some of which had actually been founded and established by me. So I would definitely like to name Adamas World School and STEM World School. Now, why STEM World School? Because STEM World School happens to be the first STEM school in West Bengal, India, which was eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region of India by Education World in 2016. So that also happens to be my brainchild. So after spending more than 20 years in the field of school leadership and management, in the year 2020, I had actually stepped into the domain of higher education, significantly because that was during the COVID times, So right now I have, I am associated with the higher education sector as the Director School of Education at one of the premier universities of Eastern India named Adamas University. Additionally, I'm associated with premier educational organizations across India as well as globally in senior advisory position and role.
I'm curious. I'd like to just touch on the STEM because that is really, we've been trying to bring that in the U.S., STEM into the school system, make it more activated and get children and parents to pay more attention to STEM. Explain for people that don't understand what is STEM and how did you bring about starting the first STEM curriculum in Bengal?
Yes. So STEM actually stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. But I would rather like to, redefine it as STEAM because, humanities, arts and humanities also is very much a part of this particular curriculum. So when we speak about STEM or STEAM in general, what we are actually focusing on is, a lot of people make this mistake of thinking that maybe this curriculum is only focused on these four disciplines: science, technology, engineering, and maths, and maybe arts and humanities, which is not so. It's not true. Mm-hmm. So STEM curriculum or methodology or pedagogy actually focuses on developing the children's, critical thinking skills, creative intelligence. So how can they think critically? How can they solve multiple problems? How can they look at different issues in lives from multiple perspectives? So that is exactly what a STEM pedagogy would, try to develop in our children. So, yes, it has been quite, I would say, revolutionary in West Bengal because, the schools were not focusing on these kind of skills. So our conventional educational norms, they force our young learners to conventionally and metaphorically draw and color within the lines, that is to conform, to comply, and to compete, and never ever to create or to innovate. Every single child is given the same amount of time to learn the same thing in the same way and preferably on the same day. So sadly enough, this is the condition of our current education system. So I, generally refer to it as the factory model of productivity, which looks at the children as the finished products of this redundant and obsolete educational, norm. So, which even denies the fact that each and every child is born with a unique blueprint, with an ability to create a unique world of difference around him or her. So, when I speak about STEM or STEAM, it actually focuses on developing those inherent, creative intelligence of a child, that critical thinking abilities, which are very, very essential to thrive in this 21st century volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world.
Wow. We need to duplicate you and bring you all over the world. No, I actually had difficulty in school reading. I did not learn to read till I was 16. I had severe dyslexia. And it's that model that you're mentioning of just the putting us through the factory and everyone thinking, learning the same. I don't learn the same. Visually, I'm not a good learner. So I love that you're talking about that. But now we have students who have been learning a lot on Zoom and visually, virtually, which has really been hard to keep kids creatively thinking as well as just staying tuned in. I mean, because you're not having that back and forth real connection with people. What do you think will be some of the most difficult parts of getting children back integrated into education live? What do you feel are some of the challenges?
Yeah, so from the perspective and lens of a progressive and empowered educator, I would actually look at it through a slightly different lens, because I feel that we live in this 21st century VUCA world where we are faced with unheard of and unique challenges almost on a day-to-day basis. Now these situations and circumstances, definitely accelerated by the global pandemic, have caused a major breakdown of order in almost all the organizations in the world. And that definitely includes education as well as higher education, where we see the four VUCA components of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. They often, interact with each other, collide with each other in a very, very different manner, and sometimes a very confusing manner. So, in the last 2 years, when the entire world has been embroiled in this global pandemic, we had several discussions and deliberations and debates as to how education would thrive, or rather, whether education in that sense of the term would actually survive this kind of a crisis. But what we have seen is that there has been a positive disruption in the field of education, where we as educators had been forced to we had been pushed to the edge, and we had been forced to, think and act outside the box, something that we had not been doing, right? So we had been, propelled to impress a lot of innovative and creative strategies to engage children. So I always say that in this, looking from this particular perspective, COVID is actually, from the perspective of education, COVID is actually a blessing in disguise, because had it not been for this global pandemic, these, positive transformational shifts would have taken maybe, another 15 to 20 years, considering the uncanny kind of an unusual kind of an allegiance that we have to a system which fosters one size fits all educational structure. So in that regard, I think that there have been a lot of positive disruptions.
What I'd love to hear, Dr. Mukherjee, is explain some of the success stories. I'd love to hear how they've had to innovate and what it looked like. Share with us.
Yes. So it's very true, Christina, that teachers, they were definitely not acquainted with this online mode of teaching. It was so very new to them. And in fact, each and every one of the teachers and educators, the schools, the colleges, the universities, the administration, everybody, they had actually struggled initially. But as it is said that the ones who had been resilient, the ones who had been learning, the ones who actually, embraced this lifelong learning strategies, which is a gift from COVID, they had actually, not only survived, but I'm sure that they would be thriving in the days to come. So we have seen teachers struggling on a day-to-day basis, not able to handle technology, in a very, very proficient manner. So it's not that technology was not there in the pre-COVID times. It was very much there. But we had never really thought the benefits of a technology embedded teaching learning ecosystem, which could bring about so many benefits to the children as well as to the educators. So we were completely unaware of that dimension. So COVID had actually opened those avenues and opportunities for us. So much so that we right now feel that we all have actually grown and evolved into a much, much better version of ourselves as an educator. Something that we had been, in the pre-COVID times. And right now, when the situation is a bit, in a normalizing mode, so we feel that there is absolutely no way that we can actually go back to the pre-COVID times, because so much has been unfolded in front of our eyes. Even our children, they have understood that just with a button or a click, the entire world had actually opened up in front of them with so many opportunities, so many avenues. The children have become self-paced learners. The children have actually understood, maybe for the very first time, the benefits of a personalized learning ecosystem. The teachers and the educators, they have, been at their creative and innovative best each and every day. They actually had to, they really have to think a lot about, innovative ways in which they actually can engage their children, because it's difficult. It's a challenge to engage the children in an online mode.
Yeah.
We have to admit that.
Yeah.
So now when you're trying to do that in a completely online mode, where this face to face or this physical, this touch is not there. So it's quite a difficult challenge for the teachers, but they had actually overcome that. Each and every day they have thought about new ideas and new innovations. So I'm sure that, during this particular time, they're definitely not going back to those old times where, those traditional systems of, teaching, learning used to happen.
Well, Cher, do you believe going forward that will be more of a hybrid kind of educational model where some in person perhaps and some via virtual? Is that what you see maybe the future being? How do you see it?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is going to be the future of education. So once we have realized the importance and the benefits of a technology embedded educational system, so definitely we are not going back to those times when, traditional and conventional educational systems prevailed. So it's going to be, what I, presume is that the future of education is definitely going to be brighter, because, our current education system definitely needs nothing short of a revolution.
Yeah,
Yes, a revamp, a completely overhauled kind of a system, and nothing short of a revolution will actually work for our current education system, because there are so many, inherent flaws embedded in our education system, which needs to be addressed in significant urgency if you really want to cater to the needs and demands of the 21st century learners. You cannot be, teaching in that same manner, because COVID has proved that the world doesn't need mechanically trained minds.
No.
Minds which are, full of facts and figures, minds which are systematically formulated to think alike. That is not what the world is looking out for right now. What the world is looking out for are creative and innovative minds. Minds which are capable of out-of-the-box ideation. Minds which are capable of divergent thinking. Also, Christina, additionally, I would like to, state that something, wonderful which these last 2 years had actually gifted us is that we have actually understood that the real world, which is much beyond the confines of the fancy physical infrastructure of an educational institution, actually rewards those amply who can think out of the box and can carve their own path.
Yeah.
And for that, the learners have to be more oriented towards collaboration and cooperation rather than cutthroat competition.
Yes.
So you see, what we normally do as educators and parents, we tend to impress this fact upon our children since childhood that you have to come first in everything. Be it in academics or in sports or in extracurricular activities, well, you have to be an integral part of the rat race. So, cutthroat competition is the key. Whereas the two important skill sets that are required to thrive in this 21st century world happens to be cooperation and collaboration and not cutthroat competition. So
Yeah.
this is very much clear right now.
Yes, I love this. And what keeps coming back for me is this idea of teaching kids to think for themselves and think outside the box, be creative to solve problems, and really not one size fits all, which is so important because that leaves so many kids on the sidelines that do not get to reach their full potential because of that one size fits all. So I love this. What should parents consider or think about when their kids enter into this hybrid virtual / live educational back to school thing? What should parents pay attention to?
What I feel is that both educators as well as parents, they need to be extremely flexible and open-minded. I mean, because I feel that whenever any change or any transformation happens, the first change or the first shift should happen here. So unless you have a mindset shift, you cannot really expect any great change to happen in the outside. So I would just like to state that, and I hope that the parents they get over this kind of a mindset where you know they continuously focus on what the child cannot do rather than what the child can do. So this is a problem. This is a real issue. This is a real problem. Also, our current education system focuses on everything that is external to us. So we learn everything. We learn history, we learn geography, we learn about the volcanoes, we learn about the natural landscape, we learn about everything which is external to us, right? But the education system does not emphasize on something which is within us. We really don't get to know ourselves through this formalized educational system. So I feel that the parents have to be extremely flexible and open minded, considering the fact that changes are coming, transformations are already there. So we just have to, move forward and embrace that with a very, very open mind. I'm not talking about the children here because I feel that the children have actually accepted the change in a wonderful manner. So there has not been a problem with any child in that sense of the term. They're so excited with this new change and with this new transformation. Problem lies with us, the adults. We are resistant. We are
We don't like
always
change.
all the positive changes. Problem lies there. The children are so very accustomed to whatever they have been through, and especially after understanding that there are so many benefits of this kind of a learning. For the first time, the children have got both choice as well as voice,
I love that.
which would help them to determine what, where, and how they would want to learn. I mean, this is such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and
So
what I'm capturing from you that is really a great point is that not only learning the external, but that each child gets to learn their internal world and to decipher that and what are my gifts and my talents that I have to bring to the world. That is so important and something I think every single educator, parent needs to really hear. I don't want to let anyone leave before they find out more about you. If they want to have you speak somewhere, find out more about you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm a person who is very, very active on social media. So anybody who would like to, connect with me, any like-minded people, I would really welcome that. So I'm very active on Facebook, on LinkedIn, as well as on Instagram. So if anybody would like to connect with me, most welcome.
Well, Dr. Mukherjee, thank you so much today for coming to share your great brilliance and wisdom. It is so important, and I'm excited for the future of education and for what you and wonderful educators are doing around the world. Thank you so much for coming to Savvy Broadcasting.
Thank you so much for this wonderful invite and this wonderful opportunity to share my insights with so many people. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.